Good afternoon, folks. I'm Dave Thompson, the director of the Academy of Cleaning Excellence. If you've watched the show before, you know what's coming up. There's 3 words on which I focus on each and every Friday afternoon. Those 3 words: healthy, positive, and proactive. Now, today, that you may have noticed, I have 2 people with me today. This is Alicia and Philip Baker, and they are from the World Financial Group here in Orlando. And we're going to talk about something that's very important. And you might have already guessed it, it's not about cleaning. That's why we call this show Beyond Clean with Dave. Now, we are going to talk today about building, protecting, and preserving financial wealth. So, welcome, Alicia and Philip Baker. And, well, the rest of the Baker family isn't quite here, but we're going to talk about the whole family today.
Yes, well, my name is Elisa Baker, and this is my husband, Philip Baker. And like Dave says, we are actually part of our financial group. We do have 3 kids. My daughter is 16. My son is going to be 17 this year, and then my son is 7 years old. So we have 3 beautiful kids.
There's a little bit of space in the between there.
Yes.
Yeah, I caught that.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is. We realized, after having our first 2 kind of behind each other, that we needed to space it out and get some kind of distance in there to kind of manage things a little bit better. Kids are an investment or an expense, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, we talked about that
yes,
before.
yes,
Yeah.
we did. Depending on how you look at it, we invest much in our children, but they are expensive. Truth be told, the kids are expensive. So we had to space it out just a little bit to gather up some funds to be able to manage life properly.
So how did the Baker family and finances and everything, let the audience kind of know how y'all got started.
Well, we were both working together before we started our own business. We were both working together,
Yes.
and we see that there's a big need in the community for financial education.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do, we decided to be a part of our financial group so we can educate the community, we can empower the community about their finance, because a lot of people don't have the education about their finance. So we started our company as a financial broker.
Yes. The thing about it is that we were active in the church, and we're helping different different organizations. Through different organizations, we're helping the community do different things. And we realized that, you know what is needed is that the schools are not teaching financial literacy.
Yes.
When I got out of high school, I had I believe it was an elective we took. It was an economics and American government. It was during summer school. The football coach was the teacher. We goofed off in the class. It was pretty easy.
And when you said the football coach, I already knew what you was going to say.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of what, we all 3 met at a tip club event that we hold here at the Academy every month. And what we were talking about during that time was, that schools don't prepare kids well enough. Now, I got to tell you, I fell right in that category.
Yes.
I graduated, I'm not going to say how long ago I graduated, but whenever I went to school, we didn't have electives such as finance. I don't know if they do today, but even if apparently you're saying
No.
it's not there.
The schools don't, and we realized that, and that being a big thing, our goal is to try to get out and empower and enlighten, because we understand that financial literacy is something that is not a common thing. A lot of people don't know how to manage money. A lot of people are just living check to check, and they don't understand how to get by day to day.
And that's one of the things that we do. We actually are a vendor with Orange County. We try to go into the school to see how we can educate them, because a lot of them, they're coming out of high school and they don't know what's next.
Now, I gotta think that your kids are not gonna come out of high school that way.
Oh no. My daughter, she's 16. She's already have a savings account. She already have a checking account. She already actually just started her own business at 16 years old as a photographer. So she already know the basics, and she already know that she want to be an entrepreneur. So that's what we educate on our kids.
Even our youngest, who is 7, we're trying to plant these seeds in him now. and just let him know that, you know what, the money that you get, whether it's from taking out the garbage or whatever chores you do or whatever money you earn, you have to realize that you have to be able to save that, because a lot of people don't understand that, okay, eventually I'm gonna get older. I have to save and I have to prepare for the future.
And what we do, we sit down with you and we set up a financial cornerstone with you. And there's 4 financial cornerstones what we would sit down with you and we would talk about. And we always use an example. It's just like when you're building a house. You don't start at the top of the roof, you start at the bottom.
Yes.
So the financial cornerstone is pretty much, it's just the foundation how you can start building your finance.
So the 4 corners of a house.
Yes.
Well,
Exactly.
unless you're building a roundhouse.
Yeah,
No, we
yeah,
don't do
well,
one house.
Don't do a roundhouse.
No.
Well, you know
Okay.
what? Truth be told, even if you build a roundhouse,
Yeah.
you still have to have a proper
Exactly.
foundation.
You still-
And
absolutely.
that's where we like to start out. We sit down with families and we let them know you have to have a proper foundation
Yes.
in order to properly build a financial future.
And we talk about protection and we talk about growth. We just pretty much explain how it is that your money get protected, how your money can grow, and the safe way how you can grow your money. We also talk about the tax advantage, and what that is a lot of people don't know that there is a product that's out there that actually allow you to take money out without being taxes. So that's
Yes.
what we sit down and we talk to you about how you can build that foundation.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter who the audience is,
No.
at what age they are, because you're talking about your kids. I'm talking about entrepreneurs. We're talking about everybody in between.
Right.
Can all use this information.
Yes.
And so what I'm saying here is, from what you're saying, I need to build a concrete foundation.
Yes.
But then how I build from there, because I know we're in Florida, you know, you don't build a wood house on sand.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, so even if I start right, I still need how to go, how to go up.
Well, it's like a GPS.
Yes, you have to know how to build properly, and that's what we help people find out and understand. There's a big difference in America. 99% of Americans, and they just, to be honest, I'm trying to think of the right word, but 99% of Americans, they make under 100,000. They work for a company. They have a 401k plan, which they really probably don't know anything.
Well, you're talking about me.
I'm talking.
I make less than 100. I got a 401. I'm middle America. You know,
Yes.
hey, so that's okay. I don't mind. You can use me as an example.
Yeah. And the top 1%, they make over 250,000. They usually own businesses.
Yes.
But the big difference between the 99% and the 1% is the 1% have financial advisors. They have someone to show them what to do with their money, where to place their money, what's going to be the best way to make their money grow, and things of that nature. And we sit down and we help you figure out exactly what you need to do to help your money work for you. The main objective is to get your money to work for you.
I think that's exactly. We didn't say this before, but he was talking about me. You know, hey, I was in that area. I wasn't planning. Over the last 5 years is when I started getting a financial planner. I don't make over the 250 yet, but hey, I'm trying to get there.
Exactly.
But I mean,
Exactly.
you know, now I'm that part of that family B in a sort of a way, because
Yeah.
now I've got the financial planner that I didn't have.
Exactly. And see, we feel that no family should be left behind, and our goal is to closing the gap between family A and family B. I mean, family A, like I said, is 99% of America, and family B is the 1%, and we need more in family B. So we just try to help people understand what is best needed to transition them over to family B.
So Alicia, you said something about a GPS.
Yes.
You know, I've always said in my education here
Yes.
at the academy is that what I need to know is I need to know where you're at today,
Right.
and I need to know where you want to go. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Aren't we talking about the same thing?
Exactly, the same exact thing. And like we mentioned before, the financial cornerstone is pretty much, is like a GPS. It's just telling you where you can start. You know, just like a GPS, you don't just get up and say, I'm going to go to New York.
Mhm.
You know, you get up, you plan, and then you're going to end up in New York. And that's what it is with the financial GPS.
Do you ever
It's
change
pretty
it
much-
along the way?
Well,
You
you
can
can,
change
but
along
not
the
too
way.
much.
Not
because-
too much. Okay,
no,
all right.
not too much.
The main point is that you have to have a starting point
Yes.
and an end point.
Exactly.
The journey along the way, you may encounter some bumps, you may encounter some twists, some turns, but as long as you have a starting point and an end point, then you are good. And the end point doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It has to be an obtainable goal, and we sit down and we help people understand that the goal has to be obtainable. If you haven't made $1 million in your life, there would be no reason for you to say, I'm going to make $1 million in a week. You
So
know?
folks, here's the deal. The Baker family is the tour guide.
Yes, we are. We are the tour guide to help you navigate along this treacherous journey.
Yes.
But don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. This journey isn't that treacherous. I mean, I say treacherous, but it's an
Well,
obtainable
it
thing.
can be, but it can be very rewarding. We'll talk
Yes.
more about that
Yes.
as we get
Yes.
into
Yes.
this. You know, one of the things that I know is in my 20s, I didn't have somebody like you.
Right.
Mhm.
If they were there, I wasn't exposed.
Exactly.
If I would I have listened? I don't know. Nobody was talking this language. And that's why we're talking about this. You know, this show is beyond clean. We're not talking about cleaning toilets.
Right.
We're talking about keeping people financially healthy, no matter what kind of income they bring in.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because you know what? I've always found that everybody that comes through my academy
Mm-hmm.
either has kids
Yes.
or they're older and have grandkids.
Yes.
Or they have a nephew or somebody that is important to them.
Exactly.
And that's what we're talking about, keeping our family structure safe.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes. And we're a financial group. We do offer a free financial needs analysis. And again, like my wife was saying, it's kind of like a GPS. We like to focus on 6 steps. And the first step is cash flow. We would like to sit down and establish, okay, how much money do you have coming in? If you are trying to make a starting point, you have to know how much money you have coming in, and you have to know how much money you have going out. We let people know that the money that you have coming in is the basis of everything. For an example, I sat down with a lady, and she was having some issues figuring out, okay, well, I can't manage and this and that, and I'm working check to check. And come to find out, after we sat down with her and we figure out all her money coming in and all of the money going on as far as expenses and things, we found out that she was spending $150 a week on getting her hair done. Now, I didn't tell her that she had to stop getting her hair done, but maybe she didn't have to spend $150 on it.
No, I could have helped with that.
Yes.
I have a perfect way to get rid of that whole 150.
Good
Yeah.
deal, good deal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if your solution would have been best suited for her, but in that, the thing is that, you know what? Sometimes us having a different vantage point, sometimes it takes somebody from the outside to be able to assess the situation differently.
Right.
When we're
And
inside
we also set up emergency funds. And what that simple is just emergency. If let's say for instance, you need to have at least 3 to 6 months of emergency funds set up into your account ready. And what emergency is your mortgage, is your rent or your light bill or your cell phone or food that, the kids might need food to eat. And that's what your emergency fund is.
Now, whenever you said that, I'm thinking emergency fund. I'm living in Florida now, folks. You've heard me before. I'm from Missouri. So I need air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Emergency to me is air conditioning.
Yes.
Yeah, well, for some people it might not be. Some people might just want to pay their rent.
Mhm.
So
Well, I gotta
that's
pay
an
my rent
emergency.
too. So I mean, I don't want to make it sound that way, folks. But
Yeah.
but you're right, and I think that's the thing is what you're trying to do is qualify
Yeah,
what each one of these steps are,
Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
because some people may have the wrong viewpoint of it.
exactly.
And so,
Exactly.
so in other words, we're talking 3 to 6 months
Exactly. And,
of
and
my
that's-
necessary what I put in the refrigerator and keeping the refrigerator going.
Exactly.
Everything.
And that's what we sit down with you and we would always talk about emergency. You're not going to always have your job.
Mhm.
Your job is, they're going to fire you, they're going to lay you off. You might get sick and you have to have that money into the bank just in case something happens. Because you're still going to have to pay bills,
Yes.
And that's the importance of sitting down with you and make sure you have 3 to 6 months of income.
And after emergency fund, we like to deal with debt management. a lot of people are way over their head in debt. Credit card debt, mortgage, things of that nature.
Oh, goodness,
Yes,
wait
yes.
a minute.
But a lot of people are way in over their head in debt, and our goal is to eliminate debt, reduce and eliminate debt. One thing I use in particular is that if I am going to use a credit card for whatever perks it may have mileage or this kind of perk, you get money back or whatever. If I use the card, I make sure that I have that cash tangible so that when that bill comes, I can pay that in full so I don't have to deal with the high interest rate on that credit card.
Exactly.
You know, I've come to find out, there over a period of time, we all have cards.
Yes.
And I'm reducing the amount of credit cards I have, but now I have debit cards.
Yes.
So they're directly attached to the cash I have in the bank or
Yes.
cash in my pocket.
Yes.
Exactly.
Very few credit cards in my pocket
Yes.
anymore.
And-
Now, I went through that whole process too.
Yeah, and that is a good thing, but you do have to be careful because depending on how your bank is set up and how your checking account is set up, you can swipe that card with no money in the bank, and you will
And they charge
incur
you a
those
fee.
Those fees, those
Charge you a fee.
overdraft
You
fees.
ain't gonna pay those fees more
Yeah.
than a couple of times
Yeah.
before they shut you,
Yeah,
before they
exactly.
shut you down too.
And that can be debt too, because if you don't pay that off, they close the account, and then that goes to collections and things of that nature. So you also have to be very careful with the debit card. It's
Yes.
way easier to swipe because you have the card and you just swipe. If you didn't have the cash, you wouldn't be able to spend the cash.
But I went to lunch before the show today, and I had that decision: the swipe card or the $10 cash.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I laid out the $10 bill.
That's right.
And your choices were limited with that $10 because with the cards you can, okay, well, you know what, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that,
Yep.
and you can just swipe, and then again you're stuck with
We
it.
also mentioned protection. And protection, when we talk about protection, we talk about life insurance. Life insurance back in the days, people know it as term life insurance. Now life insurance has changed. You have term and you have permanent life insurance. You have life insurance right now that has a cash, have a cash account attached to it. So whenever time you want money after a period of time, you can actually go into that life insurance and take money out and do whatever it is that you want to do with it. And I use my daughter for an example.
Yes.
I have a goal for my daughter. She have a life insurance policy. And I have a goal for her. Whenever time she turned 21, I'm going to take some money out and then buy her a house. And that's the best vehicle for us to save money, because if I put that money into a regular savings account, it's not going to get anything because the bank just gave you 0.1.
Yeah.
And if you do put it into a life insurance, it actually builds
Yes.
wealth. And
Does
it's
anybody
actually
really
better.
use a savings account in a bank anymore? I mean, you're just talking about a whole
Yeah.
different avenue. I mean, I purchased a $10 a month, $20,000 life insurance policy
Right.
for my granddaughter when she was born. And you said back in the day. Now I'm really feeling it. I was like, yeah, that was back in the day, okay, all right. But I'm sure it's term life. It doesn't have the advantages.
Exactly.
So if I were doing it now, I would look at a different type of life insurance,
Because
even in the
term-
last 10 years.
Exactly,
Yes.
because term, when you do a term policy, it doesn't get any cash from it.
Yeah.
And after the term is finished, you're gonna end up probably paying 2 times that more. So it's better to get a whole lot, to get a permanent policy where you
Yes.
can have that cash attached to it, and you can have it for maybe 102 or whatever time
Yeah.
that the policy lasts for.
And I think that's what we're talking about here today, folks. The Academy is all about education.
Yes.
And I'm getting educated, our audience is getting educated
Yes.
on all of these different things. And, everything has to move forward.
Yes.
But you know what? I started with a $10 a month, like I said, what it
Yeah.
cost me to go to lunch today
Right.
for her policy is better than nothing.
It
and
is. It
starting
is.
with that. So
Exactly.
there's still other things we need to do.
There is, and just like you said, starting off with $10, we let people know how they can build wealth. Using different vehicles and building wealth is important because a lot of people think that you have to have mass amounts of money in order to be wealthy, but you can start at any point.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I did. I
And
started
you know
too
what?
late because I was trying to get too much.
Yeah, and we did too. But the thing is what I want to get into your minds is that you can start off with a quarter. A
Yeah.
quarter eventually turns into $1.
Exactly.
$1 eventually turns into 5. 5 turns into 10, and it builds like that. So
Yeah.
I don't want you to understand. I mean, to have the understanding that you have to have $1 trillion in the bank in order to be able to save.
And
You can start off at any
too,
point.
and another thing too, like he was talking about building wealth. I saw there's a study that actually come out that's saying that if I want to retire with $1 million and I have 40 years to get that $1 million, I would have to be putting away $289 every single month until it get up to $1 million. What we impress upon the younger generation, like my husband was talking about with a quarter, start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're young right now. It's gonna benefit you when you get to retirement age. You don't want to have to be putting away $289 a month when you could be putting away $20 a month.
Exactly.
So you start
Exactly.
somewhere, and then eventually, when you become to retirement age, you can have more than $1 million, because inflation is gonna go up. And eventually, you know, you're gonna need money to survive, because Social Security not gonna be around anymore.
Yes.
You know.
But the
Oh,
thing,
don't say that.
but
Don't say that. I mean, I'm going to
Yeah.
I've been putting in all of my life. I'm almost at retirement. I'm depending on that.
But the thing is as far as building wealth, you can be at any age. I mean, it's never too late to start. Even though you may be
Even
in
for
retirement.
people like me, yeah, okay, it's never too late.
In retirement age, you can still prepare for your financial future, and we sit down and help you figure that out.
Yeah.
We also like to talk about preserving wealth and leaving wealth behind for the ones, for grandkids and different charities and things like that. Because with building wealth, it's not necessarily about, okay, what can I amass? We try to impress upon people, what is it that you want to do with the money? A lot of people aren't impressed by big numbers, but they are impressed by the impact they can have on different generations in society and things like that. So the preservation of wealth is something that we stress heavily upon, because we do believe in being able to leave behind something for future generations. We have an example where there was a young lady that attended our church. She was actually 23, and she passed away, and she left behind
3 kids.
3 kids
With nothing.
with nothing, you know, and her being that young, not only was she not able to, her family was not able to
Bury her.
because they didn't have the proper funds set up, but
Exactly.
her 3 kids are left with nothing
Nothing.
because she didn't have the knowledge and the understanding
Exactly.
to leave something behind for them.
So
And
it
it's
is
good.
about what we're going to do with what we've built, and I think it does go to the generations that are following us.
Yes.
That's right.
You know, these are the young people that we're talking about that are going to take care of us in our retirement days,
Yes.
in those days, even past retirement, in our last days.
Right.
You know, so, you know, folks, I think that's what, you know, maybe we're getting a little too serious here. I kind of feel that, but it is a serious thing.
Yes.
We do need to take care of what we're doing with where we're at and what we're accomplishing.
Exactly.
And what you guys have said, and I have heard from my new financial advisor, is just get started.
Just get started, yes.
And you know, I think we're all the same way. Once you get started, you like to see growth. That's the
Exactly.
American way, right?
Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
And once you see the growth, you want to see more growth.
Exactly.
And then that's where we can get into this preservation.
Yes, yes.
Exactly.
And like you stressed upon, just get started. I mean, if someone has an issue with living check to check and they can save $5, that's an accomplishment. And like I said, eventually that 5 will turn into 10, and that 10 will turn into 20, and that 20 will turn into 100, and it'll start building. So just start. That is the key, just to get started. A lot of people think that, oh, there's no way, I don't have $1 million and this and that. Just get started. If you're able to put up $1, a quarter, 10 cents, whatever you can save will eventually build. You just have to be disciplined and be able to stick to that regimen, and that is what my wife and I would like to sit on and help you accomplish.
Exactly.
Use the tour guide.
Yes, we are the tour
The
guide.
experienced tour guide.
Yes.
I don't know where that came from, folks.
Yes.
It's a live show. It just
Yes,
popped in my
yes.
head. You know, last week we had some people talking about Spanish entrepreneurship and helping businesses succeed.
Yes.
I know that today our show basically was about family and kids.
Yes.
You know, that was our focus.
Yes.
Every one of us, you there in the audience, can use this information. And I think what we're going to do is, if you guys are game for it, have you back on the show another
Yes,
time.
yes.
Definitely.
And let's talk about how entrepreneurs, how business maybe can do this for their staff
Exactly.
and help retain staff, because if we help them be more financially safe, I mean, isn't that why we all work?
Exactly.
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 Game for that?
Yeah, I am. I'm game for it. Let's
I
do
got
it.
a feeling you're going to see the Bakers again on my show.
Yes.
Yes.
So, anyway, let's close our show out with a number of things. If you've been watching before, we now have 5 campuses. We have a new website, academyofcleaning.com. We're building it. It's getting there, but go and look and see what we've got. We've got all kinds of live classes, our online classes. Don't forget that cruise to the Bahamas in February.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
hey,
Nice.
yes, okay, all right.
Yeah, good deal.
Yeah, hey, I mean, why not cruise the ship and get a certification?
Yeah,
That's
why
right,
not?
that's
Why
right.
not?
Okay, so we also have the Academy's Facebook page. Share and like that page. We got all kinds of stuff on there. We now have a LinkedIn page where we're there for the entrepreneurs that don't Facebook. So, all of these things going on. Now, if you are in the cleaning industry, which most of you people watching are, you probably know about the ISSA organization and the convention that happens every year. Well, this year it's going to be September the 11th through the 14th in Vegas. The Academy of Cleaning Excellence will be there at booth number 408. Come by and see me, see Angel. We'll both be there talking. It'll be our first time on the show floor, and we're going to have some specials. Well, it might be just something about that cruise. I don't know.
Yeah.
Come to the show and find out.
Come to the
Yes.
show.
Anyway, next week, I'm going to have Christine Iverson. She's from right here in Orlando, and she's going to be talking to me about how to relieve stress in the workplace through proactively addressing wellness therapy. I'm not going to tell you what all that means. Come on the show next Friday, learn all about it. So I guess until next Friday afternoon at 1 p.m., live right here from Orlando, I'm Dave Thompson. Keep changing your future, keep those changes healthy, positive, and proactive. And remember my mantra, I am a janitor and I save lives. Thanks for watching.